I'm begging you, just give me another shot.
You know what, Howard?
Say yes. What?
I think you are the most annoying person I have ever met. I hate being with you. I hate looking at you. And if I had my way, I would never see you again.
It's because you're mad. You're mad, and it makes sense. You can punch me if you want.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, I was ready for it.
I don't even want to touch you.
And that's a clip from Uncut Gems. I'm delighted to say I've been joined by its writers and the directors, who are the Safdies. That's Josh and Benny. Gentlemen, hello, how are you?
Okay,
hello.
How are you?
How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Welcome to the UK. How was your flight over? I know the answer to the question. So.
There was incredible turbulence, but I'll say this: when you have when you have suicidal thoughts, it makes the fear of flying kind of easier.
Right. So it was particularly bad turbulence.
Well, there was a moment where you're watching everybody react to the turbulence, and they just reach towards the sides of their walls, and you realize, oh my God, this is. You just see it all happening.
Flying is terrible. It's terrible. It's not. We're not meant to be doing it.
Well, there was
just like we're not meant to be making movies. We're not meant to fly.
There's a sequence in Fata Morgana, the Herzog movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I haven't. No.
Where it's just, I think it's like 10 minutes of airplanes landing and taking off. Airplanes landing and taking off. And
set to Leonard Cohen's.
Yeah, and you're just watching it, being like, oh my God, we're doing that.
Anyway, all of which has nothing to do with the film. So tell us, before we go into any kind of detail, tell us the story of Uncut Gems. Just tell us where we are.
Oh, the movie's about a New York City jeweler, a bling jeweler, who works in 47th Street, and he's trying to earn his place back in life, and he's planning on doing so. He owes a lot of people a lot of money. He's planning on doing so by parlaying the smuggling, you could call it, of a black opal from Ethiopia, and trying to spin it with a professional basketball player to make it all right.
It all rests on that gem.
It does. And this is Adam Sandler's character.
Mm-hmm.
Correct, yeah.
Who is called Howard Ratner.
That's right.
So explain the character that you've developed here for Adam Sandler, because he is unrecognizable, I think.
Yeah, well, we put a lot of work in with Adam. He gave a lot of preparation into this character who is, quote, always on, like a
That's true.
like a Rodney Dangerfield type. That was one of the inspirations for the character there. And you spend a lot of time in the Diamond District, and you observe the way jewelers are and how they're constantly gambling, a gamble on top of a gamble on top of a gamble. And he's a supreme optimist, Howard. He, as all gamblers are, he's nauseatingly optimistic. Everything is going to be okay in the next minute or so. Or not only okay, it's going to be heavenly.
Well, the thing that's amazing about Adam is, even if you look to his earlier comedies, what he's doing with those films is he's grounding these insane, absurd situations with the realness of emotional attachment. You watch them and you truly believe that what's happening to him on the screen is what is happening to you. You are totally connected. And we knew if we could take that and bring it to this film, it will work. You really need to root for Howard for this film to get there. And he put in all that time and effort following these jewelers, learning how they talked, how they sell. When he's in the showroom, he speaks one way, and when he's in the back room, he speaks another way. It's pretty incredible to watch.
So what was it about Adam Sandler that you wanted to work with? Why did you
we spent 10 years trying to make this movie, and he was the first one from the very beginning. He was the only person we knew who could make this movie function. When I say function, I mean it's a thrilling film. It's a thriller in all senses. You can watch audiences move to the edge of their seats slowly until they almost fall off. But you needed somebody to ground it with that sense of, not lovability, but sense of humor. He needed the humor. The comic relief in this film is paramount. It's so important. Otherwise the film doesn't function. And he brings an accessibility and a lovability and a larger than life quality.
A rootability. If you want to root for him, again, like, you need to be with Howard when he's making these decisions, and you need to always want him to make the right one.
Because it feels like a Safdie's film. It doesn't feel like what people might perceive as an Adam Sandler film.
Well, yeah, he said that from the beginning. He's like, I want to make your movie. Same thing our cinematographer Darius Khandri said. He's like, I want to make your film. I don't want you to make my film. And Sandler was an incredible collaborator on this, but he was very clear. He's like, this isn't one of my movies. This is your movie.
Mark, who's the critic on the program, is a big fan of Punch Drunk Love.
Mm-hmm.
and he's not a particular fan of Adam Sandler. So anyway, he said this, and I quote, "It's clear that what Paul Thomas Anderson saw in Sandler is that the thing people find funny about his comedies, other people find creepy. There is something about his character that is ragingly violent and angry. Here is the evidence that he can do brilliant work."
Oh,
Do you
wow.
kind of go along with that?
About Punch Drunk Love, he said
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I mean, I think Sandler in general he's a very unique person. He's peculiar in his own ways. You can hear it in his stand up, and you can see it in the way he performs it. He has something behind his eyes, a yearning behind his eyes that's really sweet, and I think he's also has a burning rage underneath him as well. And I agree. I think the humor is weird. It's strange, and
totally absurd.
I wouldn't call it creepy. So I don't really agree with that quote. I don't. That's the last word I'd use to describe anything Sandler. But I love the film. I love Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, it's one of the best, and I think in that, what's amazing, what PTA did was he saw what was in some of Sandler's comedies and took it and put it into a new context, and it just created an amazing new world. And again, we were inspired by those early records of Sandler's first. It's amazing. We didn't really even have an image of him other than the one on the cover of the album. And then you had to imagine it all because these are giant worlds on the record. And there's just such a attention to detail in some of those things that it's unbelievable. And the thought that goes into all of it is.
But the genius of Punch Drunk Love was, the vanguard quality of PTA, as it's been very widely recognized, universally recognized, is that he saw Sandler and said, "I'm going to make a movie around this person." And he saw in movies like Big Daddy, he saw a yearning optimist who's frustrated with the results of the world. And I think that's what's so cool about that movie.
So you kind of did the same thing, though.
For
you
sure.
kind of built this film
Around
him.
Absolutely. I remember we had the incredible opportunity to show PTA the movie early on in the edit. Sandler, because of Sandler introduced, and I made sure I had to get a picture of the two of them holding my Criterion Collection D Blu-ray. They had them sign it, and we admitted this to PTA, to Paul. We said, what you did with that film was specifically for me at the time when that movie came out. I grew up loving Sandler. His comedy records were so important to me, and the movies, of course, too. And then that movie came out at a time when I was really into art cinema and older movies. I was catching up with basically film history. And I don't know, I remember just my mind was blown to see the kind of the way the movie kind of melded with the persona. And that's what we're going for with Gems, too.
It's as other people have commented, it's a thrilling film. It's utterly exhausting. You're being shouted at for a long time in this movie. Are they improvising at all? Do you let Adam Sandler off the leash here? How much is improv?
Well, the thing is you can't really use improv properly unless you have a very rigid, strict guideline, which is the script. And
it's a great means. It's not a good end.
Yes, and I think with that, we had Josh always says we always had the benefit of following Sandler after his stand-up special where he did 50 cities. And the ability to adapt on a dime while you're performing for all those people, sometimes 3 hours of material, is incredible. So we could kind of use that to our advantage while we were filming. He could come in and out of the script and kind of go off on a little bit of an island, but always knew exactly where to go afterwards.
As you could imagine, the script is a 160-plus page script.
I can imagine that.
With a lot of dialogue. And Sandler was amazing at not only memorizing, but internalizing the dialogue so well so that he could go out on a limb and improvise and add a lot of little jokes here and there in the Borscht Belt tradition. We encourage improvisation to try to figure out emotionally how to get to certain things, but again, the script is paramount.
I just want to add, you talk about the pace of it. We actually had the benefit to show PTA, I think we had about an hour and 40 minutes of the movie edited. And when it was finished, we turned to him and we're like, so, what do you think?
What do you think? Yeah.
And he said, he sat down, he's like, well, he was sitting down, and he said, so does the pace continue like this the whole time? And we're like, yes, it does. And he's like, amazing, incredible. There was that little moment of pause.
Well, there's conversely, there's a story, Robert Altman's story, making McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and he was showing McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and he was sitting next to Warren Beatty, and 20 minutes into the movie, Beatty turned to Altman and said, does the whole thing sound like this? And Altman excited. He said, yeah. And Warren Beatty was like, oh.
He wasn't thinking it in the same way.
It was a different scenario. That's the other
So
thing.
that pause between, is it all like this? And you go, yes, that's great. That must have felt like your lifetime. Just
It was,
just
you know,
waiting.
obviously, you know, someone who you look up to, he has the knowledge of decades worth of work and experience. So yeah, you are kind of looking to him to be like, you know, because for us, we're like, we knew what we wanted, we knew what we liked, but he was one of the first people to see the movie before Scott Rudin even saw it.
And it
Who's
was
the producer?
Yeah, and it was, the thing is that pace is so important, and to be able to kind of build up a kinetic energy and then know when to pause it, bring it back, and then ratchet it up at certain
that was
times.
something that he talked about, is the scene between Adina and Sandler. He said it's so important you have these, yes, the movie is moving at a breakneck pace, but you have these moments where the movie stops and gives you a pause every once in a while. Not in the traditional sense,
yeah.
but it does do that, and he said those are important.
So how do you cast around Adam Sandler then? Because you work with professional actors and non-professional actors, but if someone is off and riffing and working with all this text that you've given them, you have to be sure you've got the right people around.
So I'll tell you a good story, an anecdote with Eric Bogosian, who is another person we wanted for this movie early on, because he can be so acerbic, and I don't know, I liked him as the quote-unquote bad guy. We were shooting the scene in the SUV where they're, you know, letting Sandler's character know, Howard know, they've had enough. They know he's been running around with the money that he owes them and placing bets, etc., etc. And we're shooting that scene. Benny and I are in the trunk. You have, I don't know, 5 guys in an SUV, and the 3 guys in the back who are with Sandler, you know, there's a lot of physicality in it. They're
first-time actors. They don't know how to do the stunts properly, so they're
learning the stunts.
Yeah, they're learning it on that moment. So they're really grabbing him, and like it's getting intense in there.
And they're also, they have lines, and they're saying their lines, but we were also encouraging them to kind of be free with the invectives and stuff like that. So, you know, it was getting out of control. But Bogosian in that scene has some of the most expositional lines in the whole movie, which I always cringe when I even hear that word, but he has to get this stuff across. So I remember we were filming, and he couldn't find his entry points. You know, the traditional sense, you hear your line, you know it's your moment to come in, and he just couldn't find his way in. So he freaked out and smashed the dashboard and screamed, "I don't know about any of you, but I got lines I gotta say." And you know, I was like, okay, let me go talk to Eric. I talked to Eric, and I was like, listen, you know, we're not gonna get them to say these lines because it's unfolding in an organic sense. Your character is posturing. He's posturing the entire film. If you're in this moment, you've hired these guys. If you can't get their attention, then you can't get their attention. So
you're the boss. Yeah.
You're the boss. You have to let them know. So you have to tell everyone to shut up. Then you can say your line, and feel free to say shut up.
And there were times where he would say it multiple times, and then finally he got everybody's attention. But that's how he has to fight through as a character. You know?
Wouldn't it just be easier to have actors?
No.
Because that scene in particular would not work in the same way for what we wanted. It created such an energy in that car where you had these people in the back who you feel the danger.
I mean, look, the bottom line is bottom line to that answer is yes.
Of course.
It would be quote unquote easier.
Oh, yes.
But it's, you know, if it was easy, anyone could do it. You know what I mean? And it's getting that special thing that it's overcoming those obstacles that actually get you, for us personally, to a new place that feels fresh.
And also it's the connection of the two, you know, having actors working with these first-time actors and what they both bring. You know, for Eric in particular, he's in that scene, and he's working with guys who are tough guys, you know, and he has to come in and act real with them, and they have to act with him. So there's this competing sensibilities.
Yeah, but also there's a discipline in filmmaking, isn't it, where you can't be 30 minutes late. You know, don't turn up late because...
Of course,
we have a very, very limited amount of time.
Everyone the first timers in the film were all took it very seriously, and it was they were getting paid nicely too. But you know,
that's part of the casting.
Part of the casting process Jennifer Vendetti does do is puts the first timers through a rigorous callback session, and then they have to, you know, the ones who don't take it seriously don't keep coming. You know what I mean? So by the time they show up on day one, there's already been, you know, lots of rehearsals, and
they get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Could this film have been done anywhere but New York?
I mean, I don't speak. I'm sure it could have been done in Belgium, in Antwerp. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I just don't know. That's my bottom answer. My bottom line. I'm sure you have to imagine that there's a universality to the story.
Well, the
It's-
thing-
but the New Yorkness of it, I'm sure, is a real part of it. I
Yeah.
can't see past it.
Well,
though.
the thing is once you understand it's part of New York City, it's going to take place in New York City. You have to then embrace that and allow those things to bleed into the movie. But I do think that there are Howards, in quotes, that everybody knows, somebody who puts all that on the line all the time. But yes, when we understand we're going to be in New York City, we don't close down the streets. We allow them to be open for people to come through. We allow that kind of energy to just breathe through the frame.
Whose idea was it? Just want to give a flavour of what this film is like. Whose idea was it to go from the very important stone, which you find and dig up at the beginning of the movie, into a colonoscopy?
So that was Ronald Bronstein. He who we wrote the film with.
You knew what I was going to say.
Of
didn't
course,
you?
I immediately knew. It's an incredible. I mean, actually concepting it and devising it with the VFX team was a lot of fun.
That
a lot of
switch,
hard.
yeah.
It was a
Have
lot
they
of
been
hard
asked to
work.
do anything like that before?
No, it was a lot of hard work because not only are we asking them to give us a ride through a gemstone, which there's no reference point for that. So I have to build all these. I built this crazy document for them, but it has to seamlessly transition into a colon. Ronnie, when he had his first colonoscopy younger, I think he was like 39 or something, and he was so amused to hear that colon issues and Judaism are so closely tied together, and he thought that was just so perfect.
Did you enjoy the whole process of scaling up what you do into this kind of huge movie? Because you've always worked like this, but now it's sort of writ large. Was that fun?
Yeah, it was pretty special.
It was cool to see like these people who've worked on all these incredible films, bring what they know and teach it to us, because we want to learn as much as possible. So having that ability, it's like, oh my God, we can do this now. There was
being able to say, hey, I want Howard's iconic jewelry from his heyday to be a blinged out Furby, and actually go and see it be created, and design it.
That's a disgusting bit of jewelry, that is. Diamond encrusted Furby.
But it's what's so great about though is that the Furby in its eyes, you can see the sadness in its eyes, and you can feel it trapped inside the materialism of the jewelry itself.
But you even have like with Darius Kanji, the cinematographer, he set up this team because he knew how we were going to shoot with no blocking, 360 lighting, and he said, I know the perfect AC for this. So this guy Chris Solano, and he's able to focus anything. He has this special technology that he's mastered, and the ability for us to just have that freedom was unreal. With our previous film, it was so hard to kind of capture these close-up shots with low light. Especially on this, we were pushing 2 stops, and it was just on anamorphic lenses, so you really have no room to miss. And here we are, literally catching somebody's close-up and then rolling right into a shot of a gemstone.
We had the production was really bespoke to this, and we had the belief from Scott Rudin, A24, and Netflix that we were able to really see our vision all the way through without compromise.
Well, we'll look forward to what comes next.
Thank you very much.
Josh and Benny, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.